Welcome to Diary of an Ex-Ho. I'm Cheri Hardman. I'll be your ex-ho. And today's guest is Ricci Armani. So sit back, enjoy the episode, and remember the old saying, always a bridesmaid when you're a hoe. I need a haircut, so
Oh, you and
I
me
have,
both. I'm cutting off my mullet next time I go, but I'm scared.
I have an appointment on Friday, but maybe I'll just leave it. I was going to put it up, but fuck it. I don't need to look cute for this. Ah, sorry about
Okay,
all
good.
that rigmarole today. God, I'm so annoying.
No, I get it. Trust me, I life be lifing sometimes, and it's so annoying sometimes how it happens when it's just like I already had shit going on. I didn't need all this extra.
And my dogs, they're really, I have three really barky dogs. So whenever someone's coming over, I have to put them out.
Mm-hmm.
They've learned my trick now. Like, let's go outside. And then they all run out there, and then I shut the door. So now they won't run out there. So that's an issue. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Nobody needs my stress. How are you?
You're fine. I'm good. I'm good. Same shit, different day, looking for a new job, trying to
Mm,
figure out life and stuff. You know
yeah,
how it goes.
I haven't seen you in a long time.
I know. I also haven't made my way down to Tacoma in a little bit. And I've been traveling a little bit more, which I'm very thankful for, but it's been keeping me away from everyone. I feel like you and like I was just talking about this with someone else. There's a handful of other people I feel like I haven't seen in months now, but I don't know. That's just how it goes sometimes, I feel like.
And do you live in like Seattle proper?
I live up on Capitol Hill.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not up there that often, up that way.
hmm I know. I
So,
told myself I need to start coming down to Tacoma more.
um, I say I need to keep coming up to Seattle more, and then I don't. I'll be up there Saturday, not on Capitol Hill, but I am going to Seattle on Saturdays.
Where are you gonna be?
I'm doing Lady Bits at Halcyon, so that'll be
Oh, I don't think I'll be terribly far from there. Maybe I'll swing by because Courtney and I are really close. So
mhm.
maybe I'll just swing by and say hey.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So, have you ever watched my podcast? Do you know what you're in for or no?
I haven't watched it, but I've loved the concept since you announced it. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
So, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Um, but like, if you have any good dirty stories, funny places you've had sex, just anything that's good like that, feel free to bust them out at any time. Um,
Okay.
I don't even really ask that many questions. So, but I have found that I felt like this was starting off too boring every week. So that's why I thought I'm just going to start off with a little game. It's a super simple Mary Shag kill. Okay.
Okay, okay.
So I am going to share my screen and then I got to find it, but I got it ready. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Can you see my screen?
I cannot see your
It'll take a
screen yet.
minute.
Okay.
Can you see this?
Mm-mm.
Oh, fuck. And you can swear on this show too.
Oh, I love it because I had no intention of not swearing. I didn't even think about that.
I know people ask me that, and I'm like, of course. All right, let's try it again. Share. Oh, there, that's what I didn't do.
Okay. I can see it's coming. It's giving it a second.
Okay. So, the concept, I'm sure, marry one, shag one, kill one. This is queer edition. So here we go.
Oh, okay. I would. Oh, this is so hard because I know exactly. I know for a fact that I would shag Mateo Lane for sure. There'd be no doubt. Look at him. Look
I
at
know.
him.
I know.
Okay. And I feel like I would see this is hard because I wouldn't kill any of them, but I know who I would marry on who's left. Like I would want to marry Bob the drag queen because like look at her. She's fun, she's sassy, she's got all the things going, which means I would have to kill Wanda Sykes, which I don't want to do. I don't want to have to kill Wanda, but I want to fuck Mateo Lane. I want to fuck Mateo Lane. And Bob would be a good partner.
Right. Well, you're out of here, Wanda.
Sorry. I'm sorry. What
Sometimes
would
they're
you
all
choose?
three good, and sometimes they all three suck, and that either way, it's hard, right?
Mm-hmm. Wait,
Uh,
what would you choose, Sherry? I'm curious.
oh, let me go back and look. Well, I mean, let's just say, if I don't know, he is hot. I mean, not like he'd want to do me, but if I could, yeah, I would.
Mm-hmm.
I would shag Mateo Lane, and I'd marry Wanda because I think she's got the most money.
Oh, that's
And then I,
smart.
so I
Okay.
would have to kill Bob the drag queen. So
Okay. That's actually, yeah, you're right. I should think about marrying for money more. That was my whole goal in my early 20s anyway.
see, I didn't marry for money, so that's why when I play this game, I always marry for money because no offense to
That's
my husband, but I've learned from my mistake.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a happy relationship right now, but I think if I ever was to leave or he was to leave me, I would also consider dating for money. I feel like that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah, oh, dating for money, yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
Mm,
Okay, so where are we gonna start? You want to start off with a funny story, and then I'll delve into your inner psyche. Do you have anything ready?
yeah. I mean, okay, so when it comes to like, okay, the Diary of an Ex-Hoe, I do feel like actually this is so on brand for me because I don't know if you knew this or not, but I was a really big hoe from like the ages of 24 until like basically 29, 30. So like I had 6 good hoeing years of my life, which is great. I started out as like a fresh-faced 24-year-old. I lost my virginity when I was 24. I lost my penetrative virginity when I was 24 because prior to that, I was waiting for someone that I really, really liked, and then no one wanted
Or
to
just
date
in
me.
general?
What'd you say?
Someone specific, or just in general, you wanted it to be someone?
Someone in general. Like I wanted to, like, don't get me wrong, like I was still definitely doing mouth stuff, but I was like, no one's gonna penetrate my hole until they really love me or I really like them or I love them. Something along that line. Because I was like young and stupid and was like, love is real at this age, and like it's not, it's just it doesn't work that way. Um so then I went to Las Vegas for my 24th birthday. And while I was there, I was like, fuck it. I'm just gonna lose my virginity here. And I got on Grindr, which was my favorite dating app. And there was so many blank profiles there, just like very like no picture profiles. And it was a lot of like straight guy in Vegas trying out new things. And I had started a conversation with a guy who was, I think he was younger than me because he was still in college. He was younger than me and he was on a swimming team. And he was like, I just want to try sleeping with a guy. And I was like, you're perfect for this. And he had sex with me in my hotel room and we didn't have lube. And he brought 17 condoms. There were so many condoms. And I don't know why. He only used one, and then he we used Hemp's brand pineapple lotion as lubricant, and that's how I lost my virginity. I don't even know his name, and I don't have a picture of him, and my hole smelled like pina coladas for the whole trip, and it was great, and I had so much fun. And I remember thinking like when he was going inside of me, I was like, maybe I'm not a bottom because that does not feel good. So that was fun. That's kind of like my introduction to like my hoe era. It really foreshadowed my future of having a lot of sex with men who are overly optimistic and non-committal to me. Um,
How did that work for lube? I mean, aside from the smell.
I'm sorry, what?
How did it work for lube aside from the smell?
You know what? I have found that if you are so determined, anything can work as lube. Uh, anything can be lube if you just try really hard and are willing to deal with it for a while. Anything can be lube.
So
Yeah, what?
do you have that just set so only you can talk?
No,
I
I don't
say that
think
because when
so.
I talk, you can't hear me until a minute, like there's a delay. So
Yeah,
that
I
was a
noticed that
joke,
too.
really. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. I guess we just can't talk at the same time. That's the problem.
Okay. I'll pause.
I will too. Okay.
What's your next?
Are your parents together?
Yes, which is I've always found very confusing because I'm like, why did I have such a promiscuous history when my family seems to be pretty good? Like I came from a well-to-do family-ish, and they accepted me, and I really have no reason to be sleeping around as much as I did. And if I look back on my life, I really think it happened for a few different things. One, sorry, I'm rabbit holing, but one, I think that my promiscuity comes from being suppressed for so long because I was closeted all of my high school years. And then two, I watched a lot of TV about sleeping around and stuff growing up that romanticized hookup culture. And then three, I listened to a lot of Lana Del Rey as a young 20-something-year-old. And I think Lana Del Rey teaches you to sleep around a lot.
Well, there you have it. I think a lot of music does that. In my day, it was just rock and roll, you know. It's all
Hmm.
sex drugs, and rock and roll. So, all right. So, were your parents like affectionate with you? Like, did have
Um,
kisses?
Honestly, I don't think that they were like overly affectionate, at least not in the way that like you think of when you think of like an affectionate family. Like, I think that they were pretty standard for like an Asian American family affectionate. Like they
Right,
were they were a little bit more so than I think some Asian families are, but like looking back and hearing stories about how other people were affectionate with their families, like I don't think that my parents were in the same way, you know? Like I knew I was loved and I knew that they cared, but it wasn't like I was coddled either. I was
right.
given a lot of hard truths at a very young age.
Did you see them like kiss each other?
Um, yes. Very like whenever someone came home, they would give each other a kiss, but that was about the extent of it, you know? Like, and then like I think they would hold hands in public, but it was like very kept in the home also. Like I don't think that they were doing a lot of like PDA.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, what I want to ask you about is what I call like your first sexual awakening, like when you first realized, wait a minute, there's something going on in this world that I didn't know about. What is that?
Oh, I actually love this. I tried to write a joke about this, but I felt like it wasn't hitting the way I wanted it to. I will never forget as a little kid. My mom had me when she was quite young. Like she was maybe like 19 or 20, 21, somewhere in that ballpark. And she used to watch 90210 when she was like folding the clothes. And I was probably like, I don't know, like three or 4 years old. And I remember so vividly every time Brandon from 90210 in the 90s came on TV, I got so excited. Do you remember that show? Did you watch that show, Sherry?
It was kind of a little bit after me. Like I was a little too mature for it at the time. So I know who everybody is, but I didn't really watch
Okay, there was a character on there. He was a very stereotypical white boy, right? Like tall, blue-eyed,
it.
blonde hair, and like that is unfortunately my type. Like that is who
Hmm.
I tend to go for. Actually, he looks just like my boyfriend. But I remember getting so excited and being so close to the TV every time I saw Brandon on TV. And I didn't know why. I just knew that I like wanted to be around him at all times. I wanted to be in front of the TV whenever he was on the TV. And then uh it made I remember also like rubbing myself as a little kid on like the floor and being like, something is happening and I love it. It needs to always happen. So I think as like a young kid, I was like pretty somewhat in tune with like sexuality and like what it was, but I didn't like quite know. I knew that it could make you feel good. But then I also quickly learned that it's like something to be ashamed of. Like I was told at a young age, like, hey, don't like rub yourself on the floor. And like I remember being like ashamed of it very quickly.
Interesting. That's good. That's good. I like it. Um,
Hmm.
do you remember like watching like any mainstream movies that had like a love scene or sex scene that you thought was hot?
As a little kid, no, not as like a little kid. Um, I
What about when
do
you're older?
as I got older, I think it was probably in like middle school when I started really paying attention to like sex scenes and stuff. And it was mostly because I had guy friends and we would all talk about them in movies. Like I remember there was God, I think it was like one of those like underworld movies with like Kate Beckinsale. And there was like a scene where she like hooked up with a werewolf or something. And I remember me and my guy friends were like, wow, that's so hot. And which looking back, I'm like, this is so gay. Like, I can't believe that we were all just these guys sitting in a room watching an action movie and being like, oh, it's so hot that this vampire and this werewolf are hooking up. How weird. But I remember thinking like that's really cool. And I remember also being like that guy is very attractive. The werewolf is like look at his abs, you guys. And my friends were like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing. Never mind. Whatever you guys are looking at, that's what I'm looking at."
Yeah, because I didn't even think of that. Like your mainstream movies are probably not going to have any gay sex scenes in it.
I mean, like even to this day, they really don't. Like all of the like gay movies that are out now, like they don't really have like a sex scene per se. If they do, it tends to be like very covered and like the camera's panning away. Um, I think that like the latest example that I can think of that has somewhat of like a sex scene in it that I was like, oh, that's like pretty risky is on Amazon Prime they made a movie called Red, White, and Royal Blue, and that had a pretty risque sex scene in it that I was like, oh, this is like pretty accurate to
Mhm.
what it looks like to some degree, right? Like at least like the most accurate we've seen for gay people ever.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Um, do you like to watch porn?
Jerry, I love to watch porn. Do you love to watch porn?
Um, yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find porn that I like. Like if I'm masturbating and I'm watching porn, I watch something that totally disgusts me, you know.
Mm.
But like I just wish they would be nicer to women in porn.
You know, I I have heard this complaint, but I've heard that there's also porn made for women.
I've heard
Is
that too.
Okay,
I haven't
but
found any. I haven't looked, but
I mean, but to go back to your question, yes, I do. I love watching porn, and for a while, I liked making it too. So I used to, when I was single, I used to hook up with a lot of different guys, and there were times that I would casually ask, like, "Hey, like, with your permission, is it cool if we record some of the sex that I'm having?" And like it wasn't because I was like intending to make money off of it. It was more just like I wanted it for me. So I have like a nice little collection of like my own porns that I've made. I'm a star in my own regard and I like it. But yes, I and like I love my favorite porn right now is glory hole porn. I love a good glory hole. I don't know why. It's really giving me life, and I love it.
have you ever participated in a glory hole?
What?
Have you ever participated in a glory hole?
Oh, I'm so glad that you asked this because yeah, I absolutely have. Oh my goodness, I have, and I loved it. It was like such a rush. Um, there's I used to be on this. So like my diary of being a hoe is there was an app that I used to be on that was even seedier than Grinder is because Grinder is like a very like hookup culture app and like we're talking to you like we're asking for face pictures, we're talking to each other, et cetera, et cetera. I used to be on this other app that was called Sniffies, and it was an app that was so heavily, oh, you're laughing like you know, do you know?
No, just the name of it is funny.
Okay, so I recently found out it's called Sniffies because it started as an underwear trading website and then it worked its way over into the hookup scene. And I started using it at one point, and it was very anonymous. So like there would be guys that would be like, "Oh, I have a glory hole in my apartment," or "There's a glory hole here," and I would go to those glory holes, and I'd stick myself inside of it, and I'd be like, "Okay, well, whatever happens on the other side is what happens. I hope you don't cut it off." But yeah, absolutely. And it's quite the rush. I think it's such a rush.
I would imagine that it would be. It seems like,
Hmm.
yeah, for sure.
I
Uh,
think that was like part of the reason too that I was like I liked being a hoe because it was so I loved the excitement and the rush of hooking up with someone that I didn't know. It was so exhilarating to me and it made me feel so alive, but also very like, oh no, I'm in danger.
I know. I remember one time I used to go to this bar right out by McCord.
Yeah. I know
And
the
it was
base,
it
but
was
keep going.
yeah. And it was a country bar, and all the guys went there. And I remember one time I was drunk walking with a guy that I just met at the bar out into this field to have sex, and I kept saying, "You're not going to murder me, are you?" And he stopped and he said, "If you really am worried that I'm going to murder you, maybe we should go back." And I was like, "No, it's okay."
Oh my God. You know what's so funny is that's such a gay I know so many gay men who've kind of been in the same boat of being like, you're not gonna kill me, right? And I mean like thankfully to some degree we have like technology now. There were so many times I used to send my friends like my location and like a picture of the guy that I was meeting up with and I'd be like, this is what he looked like, avenge me. Uh, you know?
Well, we used to do that just with here's his phone number. This is his license plate number. If I end up dead, he did it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh,
So, what's your definition of amazing sex?
mm. I think that definition has changed so much over the years, you know? Um, I mean, I think when I was younger, amazing sex was really just anyone who made me feel good, which is such a low bar, right? Like that's such a low bar to think like that's what amazing sex is. But I think like towards the end of my like hoeing era, it was more of can this man make me Like, make me hot and heavy and breathe hard. And is it is he going to use me? Like that was like my version of amazing sex was like, did I feel used by the end of it? Am I tired and worn out now because he just ran through me? Um, and like still to this day, I think that like to some degree is kind of something that I like with my boyfriend. I think I enjoy that. But I think now the most amazing sex to me is when my partner and my boyfriend and I are in kind of sync. Like it's very like we had amazing sex last night. Like it was very in sync. Like he was telling me what to do, how to do it, how long to do it, and I was like into it. I wanted to do all of those things. And then like he came at like the perfect time and like I came at the good time and like it felt very like on par with each other. It felt like we were very in sync, in tune. That's amazing sex for me now. What do you think amazing sex is?
I agree. It's that kind of where you feel. I can remember times feeling like he's reading my mind right now. I swear,
Hmm.
that is good. I like that. But really, I'm all old and dried up now, so anything good is good. Really is amazing for me.
When you were younger, did you have this idea of like what amazing sex was supposed to be? And then as you got older, it kind of changed. Like, has your definition of amazing sex also changed as you've aged and changed and grown?
Yeah, well, I thought, I guess when I was younger, I thought it needed to be really romantic.
Hmm. I
Like,
remember thinking that too.
and then like even if you weren't like gonna fall in love, you kind of pretended like you were for the night. Uh,
Hmm.
but then no, I like my husband and I rarely kiss when we have sex. It's more just like down and dirty, let's just do it. And then we can go to sleep and get on with our lives.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have to be an hour long session. It's like if we can get in and get out in less than 15 minutes, we're both happy about it.
I think sometimes those quick ones, those like surprise ones are like some of the most fun ones too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I love spontaneity. It's so much fun.
right. I know. I like I still like kind of public stuff
Ah,
that
tell
he
me
does.
more. Tell me more.
No, I loved I'm trying to think like what are some weird places I've had sex. I've had sex in the bathroom of a barber shop, but like with the barber when there
Uh-huh.
were other people waiting in the chairs, that was hot. Uh,
Uh-huh.
then cars in weird, parked in weird places. That's always a good one. I
I
had sex
used
in the
to,
front. I had sex in the front seat of a Fiat. I was much smaller
oh,
than, much smaller than. Yeah.
I used to when I was in college, I went to school at Seattle Central College, and there is a locker room in the gym that has a sauna in it. And that sauna was like very notorious for gay men to hook up in. And I have sucked and been sucked in that locker room, in that sauna, so many times. Like I probably lost count of how many times it happened over the years. Like there were times I would go work out, but my motivation was to be like, okay, I'm gonna go to the sauna as soon as I'm done working out. So I'd get my like workout in and be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go hang out in this sweaty room and just see what happens. Um, and then of course, like, I mean, I used to be a public park person. I used to go into like different parks and hook up with someone there because like neither of us could have someone over at their place. And then one time at the very, 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 very beginning of the pandemic, I lived in an apartment that had a separate laundry room. Like I had to go downstairs to the basement, and me and this guy hooked up in that laundry room at night because I was like, if any of my neighbors come down here, there's nowhere for us to go. Like we're gonna get caught. And he was like, perfect. And I was like, okay, cool. And it was the rush of like, oh no, like we could get caught. And I loved it. Oh my God, I loved it.
Uh, my ex and I used to go camping a lot, and we would go to spots that were not like a where everybody's all camped like in a line, but they were pretty remote spots, but they have picnic tables, so it wasn't like 100% wilderness. So
Hmm.
you probably like could have sex on a picnic table,
Out in the
and
world.
maybe somebody would drive by, and probably somebody wouldn't, but somebody might. And
Hmm.
that was always really hot for me. That just like, is somebody going to drive by and see us? That was, I love that a lot.
Oh, yeah. I miss that. I should bring that back. I should bring
Yeah.
public back. I
You know,
love it.
listening to you though made me realize, like, how gay men have the rep of, being whores or having lots of
Yeah.
partners. But, like you were talking about that sauna, I think a lot of it is proximity and convenience, like if I was like, well, maybe women wouldn't be that, but like if I had chances to just be around naked women all the time and I was, bi or something, I probably would have way more sex.
I think that that's the other thing too for gay men is like men naturally are so horny and like the accessibility to sex in the gay community is it's so there. It's so there. Even before the internet, there was this has been going on for decades now, of the like the secrecy, the codes of like maintaining long eye contact, looking at someone a certain way, and like knowing the signals to like get sex. Like it's so heavily ingrained in like what like traditional gay culture is. And like I'm not a monolith. I don't speak for all gay men, but I feel like that has been like my experience is that it's so easy, it's so accessible, and there's so many people willing to participate that it's like it's almost hard not to participate, you know? It's just it's there all the time. And we all have wants, needs, and urges, or almost all of us, right? But like when you can satiate those needs so easily, it's like, why wouldn't you? You know?
Right. I get that. And do you have any sexual regrets?
Hmm. Do I have any sexual regrets? I mean, there's definitely a few ugly people that I slept with that I'm like, I wish I hadn't slept with you. There's definitely been that. Like, there's been a few times where like again, this is like kind of going back to what I just said about like it's so accessible, but it's like yeah, we shouldn't just because we can doesn't mean we should, you know? Like there's been so many guys where I hooked up with and I'm like after I finish I'm like, I wouldn't have done that if I had been like level-headed and not been so horny. Um and I think like that's probably one of my sexual regrets. I think also my bigger regret really is like not being more promiscuous and like learning more about sex sooner. Like I waited until I was 24 to lose my virginity and because I thought it was supposed to be special and I was supposed to do it with someone that I cared about and loved. Um, but in reality, it really doesn't matter that much. I kind of wish I had just gotten it out of the way sooner and gone through that phase of my life a little bit sooner, you know? I think I wasted a lot of good years just kind of waiting around for someone to date me seriously. Uh, I think that that's probably one of my bigger regrets. And, honestly, another one I don't think I would have hooked up with as many straight guys in high school as I did. If I could go back in time and tell teenager Richie something, it would be don't don't hook up with these guys who are just curious and looking to use you because it'll set up an unhealthy pattern for the rest of your life. And this is a very formative time in your brain and you need to consider dating someone who likes you for you.
Oh, that's very interesting. That's very astute, like to looking at it from now's perspective. Did you ever like have sex with somebody just to make them go home or go away?
Oh my God, who hasn't? Who hasn't? I remember the first time it happened too. There was a guy who just like, he wouldn't leave me alone. Like, I kind of was at the point where I was like, I wanted to leave. his place. And I didn't feel like I could without him being like, "Oh no, stay." And at the time I was just like too young to really be like, "Okay, like I'm gonna go now. I don't really care what you're saying." I think a part of me was like, "Well, I can maybe salvage this. Like I'm not having fun tonight, but maybe if I go out again, it'll be more fun." Which has never been true. And I remember he was like, "What if I just put it in for a little bit and then that's it?" And I was like, "Okay." And it wasn't a little bit, like it was so much longer than a little bit. But I mean, like, it's never a little bit, right? But when you're young, you're like, he means it.
Right.
He doesn't.
We did. Oh.
Have you had that scenario happen to you where you just kind of were like, I will just do this if this can be over?
So many times, and like with my older son's father, I probably shouldn't talk about him in public, but yeah, there was a lot just because his relatives follow me, and I don't know if they watch this or not. So, but yes,
Mm-hmm.
there was that situation. Now, see, my family, they know better than to watch this. My husband has been forbidden from watching this because
Oh, good. Okay.
he likes to think that I was a virgin when I met him, even though I had two kids. So whatever, that's his deal,
Yeah,
not mine.
it was just the two times though. Yeah, that's
Right.
it.
How's your body image?
My self-perception of it or how others view me. What do
No,
you want to know?
your image of yourself.
Um, I think it's a work in progress. I think that that was also like so much of why I slept around. I mean, like looking back, that's so much of why I slept around, right? Was validation. And it was like, well, I'm hot enough to fuck 4 times a week, why I'm attractive in that regard. But like uh right now I would say my self-perception of my body image is not perfect. It's not great. I also, to be fair, I turned 31 this year. I turned 30 last year. That's how age works. And my metabolism slowed down a lot. And I got into a relationship. I got very comfortable and I gained like 30 pounds in the last like year and a half. And I'm not very tall. I'm 5'7.5", and it's very noticeable on my body. And I used to be someone who ran 5 miles every day after work, and I would work out all the time. And I was fit enough. And that is so much of like what currency in the gay community is like how attractive are you? What does your body look like? You know? And also growing up in a family that did absolutely believe in like fat shaming to some degree, right? Like they it kind of it got ingrained in me that like if my body isn't right, then like I'm gonna be subject to like scrutiny and criticism, and like it made it very difficult. And like my boyfriend is so sweet. He's so nice, so loving. And he's like, I think you're attractive at any size. And I'm like, it's not about you. Like, like this is my thing. Let me have this.
Yeah, I do think I've noticed that a lot of Asian cultures are very blunt about weight. Like I've had,
Mm-hmm.
my friends' Asian mothers telling me, "Oh, you're too fat," just like that. Like,
Willy-nilly.
okay, yeah,
Yeah. No, they're just handing that out like it's Halloween candy, just like you're fat. And I'm like, wow, thanks so much.
God, I would have never noticed if you hadn't told me.
I
Um,
know. It's like, no, I've never had a mirror actually. Thank you.
do you have anything left on your bucket list, sexual bucket list, or have you done everything you ever wanted to do?
You know, it's so funny because like so this is my first relationship and like my first like long-term study relationship. And when I first got into it, I was like, yeah, like I did everything sexually that I wanted. And I'm very happy with the sex life that we have. Like so much happier than I ever thought I would be in a relationship with my sex life. But as I get older and like look around, I think like maybe it's not so much that like I want to try something new, you know? Like I haven't seen anything yet that I'm like, oh, I want to see what that's about. I think more or less it's like about like what I would be willing to try again, you know? And my boyfriend and I have had the conversation about like, we could see ourselves being open one day, but we're not really sure. But it's like, who's to say, right? Like the future is, I think neither of us own a crystal ball. How can we tell? But I think I wouldn't mind doing three ways again. That's absolutely my most favorite way of having sex is a three-way. I love a good threesome. I always was a guest star in a three-way, and I wouldn't mind seeing what having a guest star would be like at some point. Um, and I think like maybe anonymous things again, I think would be super fun. But I ultimately I could take it or leave it, right? Like I'm very happy with the current sex life that I have. Uh, but I think like, who's to say? Maybe one day I could want that again, you know? What about
Mhm.
you? Did you get everything out of your system? Did you hit your bucket list?
I know because I never had sex with a woman, and not like I ever really like craved it, but it is something that now like, oh man, I never had sex with a woman, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's not too late. I feel like it's still a possibility.
That
I'm
guy,
so sorry. I'm right by a fire station. I don't know if you heard all that.
I didn't. No,
Oh.
the guy in the next room might not agree with your assessment about that, but like he's so funny because like he's really like pretty straight laced and stuff, and I'll say stuff like, okay, if we were going to have like a threesome with another woman, who would you want it to be? Like, you would have to murder him before he would answer that. There's just like no way. He knows that would haunt him, that I would throw that in his face. He's very smart. Um,
Mm,
so we can't even like fantasize about it, or at least he doesn't want to. But threesomes are my favorite. I fucking love threesomes. I had a,
hmm
I had a lot of threesomes, just me and two guys. That's the best.
I mean, honestly, that's kind of where it's at, right?
Where you just get to be the main course and everybody's just,
Yeah. I
yeah.
also love attention, though. I'm sure that you're kind of like me. Like we probably both love the attention of,
Mhm.
of two people, you know?
Right. Okay. So I am done asking you questions. If you have
hmm
if you have another story you'd like to tell me before we go, that would be amazing. But I know I didn't
Um,
specifically ask you to plan something. So
yeah, let me think for a second here. Um, I feel like trying to think if I have any like strange. Honestly, this isn't so much a story as it is like a lesson learned sort of thing. I will never forget the biggest dick I ever had in my entire life. I was young. I think I was like maybe like 25, and he was not who I expected to have it. He was probably some like 5'8", 5'7", like we were like eye to eye, white guy. And it was like, oh my God, Cheri, it was probably, I'm not even kidding, like maybe like 10 inches long and as thick as a Dasani water bottle. And I was like, I didn't know that they made him that big on guys your size. And it was so big that I remember feeling like I was like trying to crawl away on the bed, and he did that thing where he grabbed my hips and he like pulled me back in, and I remember the noise that came out of my mouth was like, yeah. And I was like, ah, oh my God. It, um, but like it taught me that you can never judge a book by its cover because sometimes the biggest dicks come on the smallest men. Conversely, I've been with a lot of very tall, muscular men who had very average and less exciting penises. And I want everyone listening to know that sometimes big dicks come in small packages.
well, there we go. Yeah, I knew a guy that had like a 10-inch dick, and he carried Vaseline around in his pocket. So I had sex with him once because he just greased it up, stuck it in. It was like, yeah, no. He thought that's all he had to
At
do,
that,
you know?
I feel like at that point too, I'm just like, okay, we're not even really having sex here. Like this is like attempted murder,
Yeah,
Like I'm not enjoying what's happening
that's a
anymore.
lot of dick. That is a lot of dick.
It's so much. And I don't like I would never want to have a partner who had a dick
Hmm.
that big because it's terrifying.
You got
He'd
to
be like, "Do you want to have
recuperate.
Oh my God." Like I feel like that's the thing is I'm just like I don't have it in me to do that all the time. Like we have to
You
wait
don't
for it to
have it.
close back up.
You don't have it in you to have it in you.
Yeah. I couldn't do it. That's crazy.
No. All right. So this is going to come out in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So do you have anything going on around that time that you want to promote?
I will be part of Seattle International Comedy Competition in 2 weeks, and I will be headlining at this is far away, but I'm headlining at Hereafter in Seattle on December 10th.
All right.
So
Cool. What's your Instagram handle?
it's RICCI_Armani, ARMANI.
Okay. Cool. Well, God, thanks. That was a lot of fun. I appreciate you being patient with me earlier
Oh
today.
my God, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited to talk to you about this.
Yeah,
This
this
was
was a
so
good,
fun.
such a good time. I can't wait for this to come out. All right.
Hmm.
Have a great rest of your evening.
You too. I hope to see you soon.
All right. Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.
Come say hi Saturday if you can.
I will. I promise. I will.
Okay. All right.
I'll
Bye.